Welcome. You're tuned into Tangled Threads. If you're digging our content, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. Hey Reddit, so this is a story I never thought I'd tell, but here we are. My name's Darren, and I've been with my wife Lisa for probably about 3 years now. We were like the textbook definition of a perfect couple, or so I thought. I work as an engineer, and things have been going pretty well on that front. So well, in fact, that we decided to hire a personal chef. Because why not, right? Now, Lisa was never much of a breakfast person, but that changed pretty quickly after we got the chef. Every morning, like clockwork, she was up and in the kitchen. At first I thought, hey, she's just excited about the fancy breakfasts. But something felt off. Lisa was not an early riser, ever. So her sudden change in routine was a red flag for me. Call it intuition or just plain suspicion, but I decided to take some action. I installed a hidden camera in the kitchen. I know, it sounds extreme, but I needed to know what was up. And boy, did I find out. One morning I checked the footage, and there it was. Our chef, sneaking into the house through a special door we had in the kitchen, a door that was supposed to be for groceries and stuff. And there was Lisa, sneaking out of our bedroom to meet him. They were having sex, right there in our kitchen, where we have our morning coffee. I couldn't believe it. My heart just sank. I saw them do it once, and that was enough. I knew I had to confront them, but I didn't just barge in there and start yelling. No, I waited. I waited until the next morning, right after they did their thing. Breakfast was being served, and I sat down like it was any other day. It was a typical morning, or so it seemed. Lisa was in the kitchen, laughing at something the chef said. I walked in, my heart pounding in my chest, but I kept my cool. I sat down at the breakfast table, where a plate of eggs, Benedict, was waiting for me. The chef, let's call him Mark, was putting the finishing touches on Lisa's plate. "Morning, honey," Lisa said, with a smile that now seemed so fake. "Morning," I replied, my voice steady. I looked at Mark. "Chef, that looks delicious." Mark nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Darren." He seemed oblivious to the storm that was about to hit. I took a bite of my breakfast, then put down my fork. I looked straight at Lisa. "So, I've been thinking, we've got this fancy security system, but we never really use it, right?" Lisa looked confused. Yeah, I guess so. Why?" I leaned back in my chair. "Well, I thought I'd check the cameras, just to see how they're working." I kept my eyes locked on hers. Her face changed then. It was subtle, but I saw it. The panic, the realization. "Cameras?" she echoed. "Yeah, the cameras. In the kitchen, for example." I glanced at Mark, who had stopped what he was doing and was now watching us closely. Lisa's voice was shaking now. "What did you see, Darren?" I sighed. "I saw enough, Lisa. I saw you and Mark." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. Mark finally spoke up. "Mr. Darren, I can explain." I raised my hand, stopping him. "No, I don't think you can. I think it's best if you leave. Now." Mark didn't argue. He just nodded, mumbled an apology, and left through the back door. Then, it was just Lisa and me. She was crying now. "Darren, please, let me explain. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake." "A mistake?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You call sleeping with our chef, in our home, a mistake?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Darren, I'm so sorry. I felt lonely, you were always working, and he was just there, and one thing led to another." "That's no excuse, Lisa." I stood up, pushing my chair back. "We made vows, remember? For better? For worse? Or does that not mean anything to you?" She was sobbing now, her makeup running down her face. "It means everything to me. I love you, Darren. I made a terrible mistake." I shook my head, feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak. "I don't know if I can get past this, Lisa. You broke my trust. You broke our marriage." She tried to speak, but her words were just choked sobs. I left the kitchen then, leaving her there, alone with her tears and the remains of a breakfast that suddenly tasted bitter in my mouth. The confrontation was over, but the pain and the betrayal, that was just beginning. The conversation that followed was a blur. Lisa tried to follow and tell me it was a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen. She said she felt neglected because I was always busy with work, but that's no excuse. We were supposed to be partners, to talk about things, not this. I asked her why the chef, of all people. She said it just happened, that he was there, and one thing led to another. It sounded so cliché, like a bad movie plot. The chef, for his part, didn't say much. He just gathered his stuff and left, looking guilty as hell. The house felt so empty after that. I couldn't even look at Lisa. Everything about her seemed like a lie. The way she'd get up early for breakfast, her smiles, her laughs, it all felt fake now. We tried to talk it out over the next few days, but what was there to say? She'd cheated, and that was that. I'm still figuring out what to do next. Part of me wants to try and work things out, but another part of me just can't get past what happened. It's like a bad dream that I can't wake up from. Our perfect little life, our happy home, it's all just shattered. So, yeah, that's my story. Never thought I'd be the guy telling a tale like this. But here I am, wondering where it all went wrong and what I'm going to do next. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Any advice or similar experiences would be appreciated. Update. Hey Reddit, it's Darren again. A lot of you have been asking for an update on my situation, so here it is. After the whole ordeal with Lisa and the chef, things spiraled pretty quickly. We tried counseling for a bit, but it was clear that the trust was broken beyond repair. So, we decided to get a divorce. The divorce process was rough, not going to lie. It's never easy, unraveling a life you've built together. There were arguments, tears, and a whole lot of paperwork. But the hardest part was coming to terms with the fact that the person I thought I'd spend my life with was now a stranger. When it came to the financial side of things, I was bracing myself for a hefty alimony payment. But surprisingly, it wasn't as bad as I expected. I did have to pay alimony, but it was minimal. The court took into consideration the circumstances of our split, and that worked in my favor. I know some people might be bitter about paying any alimony at all, but honestly, I'm okay with it. It's a small price to pay for my freedom and peace of mind. I'm just glad to be out of a relationship that was clearly not what I thought it was. Now, I'm in a much better place. The whole experience was a tough lesson, but it taught me a lot about myself and what I want in life. I've been focusing on my career, spending time with friends, and just enjoying my independence. It's strange how life works out sometimes. One moment you think you have it all figured out, and the next, everything is turned upside down. But I've come to realize that it's all part of the journey. I'm looking forward to this new chapter in my life, free from the lies and the betrayal. So, that's my update. Thanks to everyone who reached out with advice and support. It really helped me through some dark times. I guess the moral of the story is that no matter how bad things seem, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Here's to new beginnings. Here are some responses he received. Response 1. Hey Darren, first off man, I just want to say I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. Cheating is a tough thing to deal with, and I can't even imagine what it's like when it's with someone you brought into your home. It's great to hear that you're moving on and focusing on yourself. That's really the best thing you can do in these situations. About the alimony, don't listen to anyone who tries to give you grief about being relieved. It's minimal. You have every right to feel that way. It's not about the money. It's about closing a painful chapter and starting fresh. You shouldn't have to pay a fortune for being wronged. It's good that the court saw the situation for what it was. Keep your head up, Darren. Sounds like you're handling this with a lot of class and dignity. All the best in your new chapter. Response 2. Darren, I read your story, and while it's unfortunate what happened, I'm a bit confused about your relief over the minimal alimony. You mentioned your career as an engineer is going well, so I'm wondering why the alimony was even a concern for you. Shouldn't it be more about supporting someone you once loved, regardless of how things ended? I get that she cheated, and that's terrible, but alimony isn't a punishment. It's a means of ensuring both parties can move on financially after a marriage. If you were doing well for yourself, paying alimony, even a significant amount, shouldn't be a big deal, right? Especially for someone you cared about enough to marry. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it seems like if you really loved her, the focus would be more on healing from the betrayal. rather than feeling relieved you don't have to provide much financially. Just something to think about. Either way, I wish you the best in your recovery from this whole situation. Well, anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.